active listening. As a manager, you will get more information, improved understanding, and a clearer picture of the other person's points of view. It requires you learn and remember more of what the other party has said, but also that you communicate your interest. Active listening requires verbal and nonverbal communication, mental and emotional discipline. An active listener looks and sounds interested in the speaker. You can encourage them to clarify their own thoughts and feelings. An active listener maintains good eye contact. Too much eye contact may make the speaker feel self-conscious, and in some cultures, it's considered rude. Too little will make them feel ignored. You have to observe the other person and make them feel comfortable to talk first, even if what they say is about you and even if it's not very comfortable. Whether as a manager or supervisor or just talking to a coworker, it's your responsibility to the overall aim of the organization to be able to clarify and communicate better. Body position. Maintain a body position and facial expression that indicate attentiveness, not boredom, and encouragement. Avoid distracting behaviors and try not to be distracted by the speakers. It may feel uncomfortable at first. In fact, it may even feel a little phony, but once you do it and see how well it works to encourage other people to express themselves, you should use sounds like uh-huh and yes in order to encourage people. An active listener adopts the speaker's point of view. You will understand and remember someone's points most effectively if you try to see things from their point of view, at least initially. Try to suppress your initial reactions to hear and understand the speaker's perspective. Try to listen and respond as if you've traveled for a while in their shoes, not just in your own. Listen for feelings, not just words. Try to empathize. Depending on the context and purpose of your communication, you may later shift modes into discussion in which you also present your own point of view. But to be a good active listener, you shouldn't do that until you thoroughly understand the speaker's point of view. In fact, many of the problems of communication in organizations take place because people think someone is saying something that they're not really saying. So if you hold back and restrain yourself a bit in order to really get to what they're saying, you may be surprised. And you will also develop a reputation as a very effective listener and manager of people. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's easy to do, and I'm not saying that I've mastered it all the time. It's very difficult to do, and it's something that you have to work at for a lifetime. And when you reach the point where you can do it with the people closest to you, and particularly in a heated conversation, then you know you really arrived somewhere. An active listener clarifies the speaker's thoughts and feelings. You'll listen better if you're not talking too much yourself. Limit your talking to getting them to fully share their point of view. When I say fully, I mean sharing all, especially the emotional content. By encouraging them to express fully their emotional content, it leaves you with some control, which makes it easier to bear. Avoid inserting your own marginally related experiences and minimize interruptions. When they're talking and you're listening, it's their turn to talk and your turn to listen. When the speaker pauses Ask open-ended questions like, how do you feel about? Tell me more about. What concerns you? Are you satisfied with X, or is X on schedule? Use reflective response technique to check the accuracy of your understanding of the speaker's ideas and especially their feelings. Things like, so you're frustrated at your inability to progress on X, or when I said X, you found yourself frustrated. I mean, think about it for a minute. How would you feel if you had something that you felt, for whatever reason, was important that you wanted to say, and before you got half a sentence out, somebody finished your sentence for you? Or I'm sure you've had the experience where you go to somebody and you start telling your experience, then they have to tell an experience that they had that's something like, or sometimes even in their point of view, better than the experience you had before you even had a chance to finish what you were saying. Or they get defensive. On 3 words, they get defensive. And you always have this feeling, this frustration that, hey, I never really got to say what I had to say. Compared to when you really have the chance to express everything, both intellectually and emotionally, that you want to say, and the person sits there and listens to you and doesn't react and doesn't tap their finger and doesn't look off into space. Hopefully you've had that experience as well, and then it'll be easy for you to understand why learning the skills of active listening are so important. Let me give you some examples, and then we'll move on to the next stage, reflecting or reflective responding.